Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Trader Chat. Johnny, Ward and Flynn Goward. We must have spent about 10 minutes before the show just talking about what happened at Cheltenham, what happened over the weekend, because it was a bruising weekend for Star Sports. They were hit by one of the hardest men in the betting ring and one of the hardest men in the training ranks as well. Could you guess who it is? You well probably could. An Irish trader. That's my clue anyway. And despite the fact there are only four winning favourites from my count, and obviously one of the most dramatic second favourites winning of all time at Cheltenham over the 2 days, Star Sports representative Flynn Goward has told me with a straight face that they absolutely did their dough. As well as that, we obviously have market movers, Formula One, and politics and Strictly Come Dancing to talk about. But let's start with Cheltenham. You did your money.
Yeah, Johnny. There's only one place to start. We did our money on the Tats pitch and on the rails pitch. On the Tats pitch, I lost every day. On the rails pitch, I think we lost every day. We did cop a little bit in the office, so it wasn't all bad across all parts of the kind of Star Sports departments. But when we're talking purely on course, I did do the money. Like you say, just the results on paper didn't look horrendous, but there were a couple of bets in there that just completely wiped us out. You alluded to one of the bets, which we'll get onto shortly. That was actually on the first day, so it was a really poor start to get going. Let's start with the Friday.
On the Friday, you don't even know what day it is anymore.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Straight into work after 3 days at Cheltenham as well, here in my bedroom office.
Fair. Let's go back to Friday where it all began to go wrong.
Yeah, so just to spin through a few of these results, we'll start with the second race, which was the 145. The first race, we did a little bit of money, but wasn't too bad at all. Moving into the second race, Editor de Geets just proved too quick for them all. Was too gutsy for Stolen Silver. Not a terrible result on the track, but if you did bet Stolen Silver in the office, it was beaten a neck. So with our pipped offer, because you would have been beaten second, you have had your money back up to 50 quid. So decent result there if you did bet that one in the office. The next one I want to talk about would be the Gin on Lime race. I mean, this was actually a worse result for us on track because the favourite My Drogo was so short, about 2 on. Actually, SP Force 9, but was shorter than that on track. It's just hard to lay at those prices.
People, I don't think people understand that, and I've spoken to bookmakers so many times about this. Do you think a shorty gets beat? It's a great result, but very often it isn't.
No. Especially when it's not very competitive. When it's a competitive race and you've got a short one, it tends to be an okay result as long as it's not obviously a bad each way race. But in terms of this, if it's a match race, you just want to bet the one that's you think still got a chance if it's around 2 to 150 and you wait 7 to 4, because it's still got a decent chance of winning. You'd think that type of price in another race would normally be favourite. So as a punter, you do look at that race and say, well, I've still got a chance to win this race and I can have X price compared to only getting half of my stake back as winnings. So Gin and Lime was actually a really bad result for us on the pitch. What a sit from Rachel Blackmore. It was absolutely fantastic, wasn't it?
Do we know if, and I don't like to obviously talk about rival firms and all that, but do we know if much was done on the exchange at a price when it all but came down?
I believe 103 might have been traded, maybe. It depends whether you're talking about my Drogo or Gin on Lime, because they both kind of went and then looked like staying up, and then obviously my Drogo.
It happened so fast.
Going. Yeah, it did. It did. I can remember a little bit of 103 just from when Simon wrote it in the blog. But do check out the blogs because I think it was in there.
Yeah.
So an absolutely crazy race, a great sit. I see some chat about today about the fact that she carried on when the horse could have been lame and all that type of stuff. But she's a fantastic horsewoman. You'd like to think that for someone of her experience, then she would know.
Yeah, that in fairness now, that did come into my head because I have memories of Codo Star being remounted by Ruby Walsh and being beaten a short head. I think he may have gotten injured afterwards. Now, whether he did or not, I'm not blaming Ruby here, but I do suggest that it's difficult for a jockey in the heat of the moment to know how well the horse is. Now, she had the chance to, she was left alone. So she kind of had a little bit of chance to sort of get a feel for it before they came to the last. But in terms of an animal rights issue, I can completely see either way on this argument.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I don't think it's a real bad perception, is it? When you think about things we had, I don't think that the casual will watch that think, oh God, how's she still carrying on?
Yeah.
The horse was walking absolutely fine. And she's so experienced, Rachel Blackmore, that you'd like to think that she would know, and I'm sure she would. I thought that for a split second that Harry Skelton was going to try and remount. Because he was properly running after my Drogo, wasn't he? He kind of fell off, and then he saw Gin on Lime starting to go. He started like sprinting after him.
Well, that would have been absolutely hilarious.
I know. I thought he was going to try and catch him and remount him. I guess that's that could be an instinctual thing, just to think, oh, I've fallen off. Can I jump back on? And then realise that you're not allowed to do it anymore. Obviously. When did they bring that ban back in? The whole remounting, Johnny. When was that? Was that around when Cortez started?
Yeah, I have a feeling
you're not allowed to anymore, are you?
No, you're not. I have a feeling that it was a year or two after that. And being honest, I think it's not a bad idea because I don't think a jockey necessarily has the wherewithal in the heat of the moment to know that a horse is fine after a fall and live to fight another day. Horrible fall of six-shooter as well at the weekend in Ireland, and unfortunately fatalities do happen. And I don't think the jockey's in the right frame of mind at that stage to know. So it's not something that I disagree with, to be honest.
You have to think about the jockey as well. So if the jockey's fallen off and had a proper mother and father of a fall,
exactly,
and then he can't jump back on. He could be concussed. Like nobody said, say, do not get back on this horse. So I think it's definitely the right thing to do. But for a split second, I did think he was going to try and jump back on. But yeah,
back on the lash, then landed the next at 4's favourite, and the day just got worse.
It did just get worse. Really, really well backed, actually. Opened up around 13-2, I think, and just kept shortening. It looked like Diesel Dallier was going to take it, jump in the last, and then just stopped and then stayed on again. It was a really, really weird run from Diesel Dallier. We did see some warm money for Diesel Dallier anti-post at around the 10-1 mark. So that was really well bet, and it was easy to back on the day. And back on the lash was the one they wanted to be with, the Martin Keithley runner. They're moving on to the next race, and this is the one which we were talking about. This was Blazing Cow. Just a really, really good performance, winning at 9-2. We laid to, I'll say connections, but it was obviously the owner of Blazing Cow.
What was your thought process as he approached your pitch?
Well, I'll be 100% honest. I didn't even know it was him until they've called 4-1. It was a much bigger price on the exchanges. I hadn't laid it. So I just got it straight in, and then it wasn't until I came out, until he was walking away, that somebody told me that it was actually Mr. Burns himself. So obviously, once we knew it was him, we knew that it was going to be a difficult one to beat. But then the price kept going out, to be fair. So I didn't lay a bad price. He played 4-1. I know you could argue it's now a winning price. It's gone off 9-2. It's gone on bigger on the Betfair. So
what do you do then? Do you just let it ride, or what?
I go straight into the satchel, and when he comes back, I'll give him all of his money.
Beautiful. That's nicely explained.
Yeah, we don't have it back or anything like that. Obviously, it's Star Sports. We don't lay anything off. People can believe what they want, but we don't. And I can speak from first hand that I've never hedged any of our bets. So we just did a big loser there. It was a 5-figure loser in the book. Was Blazing Cow, and there was just no chance of getting back after that one, unfortunately. It was a great performance from Blazing Cow, though. We'll get onto the market movers after we talked about all the days at Cheltenham, because he was involved for the Ballymore.
So does he, do people detect Charles Burns coming up to a rival pitch and say, oh crap, I better back that horse now myself, because this is effectively insider information. If Charles is backing it, I should be backing it too. Or do you just slash the price and say, I've enough done on this?
Well, for us personally, because you've laid such a big liability, you would just get under it a couple of ticks. So I think we might have gone, after I laid it 4s, I might have gone 7-2, and then it kind of went back out. And when the whole ring's 9-2, then I went 4. So I went back to the price I'd laid it at. But because there's 9-2 around me, I'm very unlikely to lay that. And even if I'm laying 4-1, then I'm still laying an okay price. Yeah. If you're making a proper book, obviously you want to put the money around and stuff like that, and then try and hedge out. But obviously that's not what we do here. So we just try lay the right prices as per the market at the time, and then hopefully they don't shorten too much. Obviously he's going to be a very difficult man to beat, and in this case he was. But another one is that if he's coming up to the pitch, I don't know, he might be very recognisable over in Ireland, but he's not over here. If Paul Nicholls is coming up to a bet, no, I mean I really wouldn't have spotted him. I really wouldn't. And
many trainers have got a bet with you?
Not in person, not that I can remember. Obviously, in the past at Style, we are with the Blade trainers, and we obviously have the owners club where we guarantee owners to win 10 grand on their own horse from 10 in the morning day of race, and then a further 10 grand on the show. So we try and attract owners, so owners that can't get on can bet their own horses. But with trainers, it's rare. Probably be the first one. Well, yeah, it is, especially to come up in person. It's normally representatives or something like that. You very, very rarely get it. It's ballsy. I like it. It's
it
ballsy,
is.
isn't So it was a really tough Friday on the back of that. But moving on to the Saturday, I'd like to say that things got better, but they really didn't. We did cop a few quid in the first race, though. That was Night Salute winning that race. The favourite Magistrato getting beat was a big win for the office because we had a multiple that was building up, would have paid out over 100 grand, but that getting beat was a really good result. That was the Paul Nicholls runner. Terrible result in the second race, of course. On the tax pitch, I laid 2.5 grand win only at 7-2 on Strictly a Dancer. So that was about a 9 grand loser. So again, a really poor result. It was really well bet that. It was about 4. I think it was 4-1 in the morning, and then it's shortened up to 9-4. So not the greatest lay in hindsight. Laying at 7-2 and then going off at 9-4. So that kind of put us on the back foot for the big Saturday. Midnight Shadow was a decent result in the big race. Protectorate would have been a terrible result if he would have got up, especially for the rails pitch and when Lofty was on there. Would have been a 20 grand swing for Lofty on there between Protectorate and Midnight Shadow. And for a small portion, it did look like Protectorate was going to get up. He made a rick at one of the early fences, and then he just stayed on like nobody's business, didn't he? I think it was probably a bit of that and a bit of Midnight Shadow just getting lonely and tired in front because the rest of the field were gaining, weren't they? But
all in all, that's got to be a bad result. You've like 7, 11-2 and 9-1 in the placings. Well,
that's what I'm saying. Like we did, even though not all the jollies won and not all the short prices won, the places were really unkind. For most of the days, really. Protectorate really well bet. Layla really well bet on his first off. Paul Nicholls. Even Midnight Shadow wasn't a great result. Even when you look at the next race, Sporting John 9-2, 9-2, 7-1. Sporting John was the best backed horse in that race. They really wanted to be with Sporting John in the listed race in the 250. So again, that was another poor result. That's actually been put into 20-1 for the Stayers Hurdle. I think only one further priced other than us, so we're also priced at 20-1 for the Stayers Hurdle. Might be an interesting one, having a proper graded performer. Obviously, going back to hurdles, didn't fancy his jumping last year. His form did tail off a bit last year after getting that victory at Sandown, but might be an interesting one for the Staying Hurdle division this year. It looks. I was having a look at the betting earlier. Actually, it looks quite a weak division this year. I mean, it's quite a weak division most years, isn't it? But I know
Classical Dream's probably favourite, is he?
November. He is. He's 9-2. Then he got Time Hill in there at 7-1 second in, and he got beat the other day, didn't he? Then you got Galopin de Champs in there. He won't go down that route though, will he? He'll go chasing.
It's probably not the worst shout in the world.
Yeah, so 20-1 Sporting John might be one to get interested in. We've got that priced on site. Then just the last race on Saturday, the Jolly got the job done there. Bonte for Fergal O'Brien and Paddy Brennan. And I thought Paddy Brennan was coming home on Imperial Commander for a second because he celebrated like he won the Gold Cup. It was unbelievable. There were some proper jockey celebrations this weekend. Like they were coming past the line and giving it a proper Mikel Barcelona style celebration, or like Tony McCoy on Don't Push It. There were some proper celebrations. So when we talk about, it's all about March and why do we always talk about March? It's clearly not to the jockeys because they're really celebrating these winners properly. And that was a proper celebration from Paddy Brennan. But the one thing that I wasn't doing, Johnny, was celebrating, unfortunately.
So one winner yesterday, one win in favourite yesterday, and it was still a bad weekend.
It was indeed. I mean, yesterday wasn't as bad as the first 2 days, granted, but I did just lose small on the day yesterday, whereas the first 2 days were decent losing days. It was quite quiet on track, actually. The Sunday of Cheltenham always tends to be a little bit quieter.
Yeah.
Well, quite a bit quieter than the Friday, Saturday, but it kind of equates to like the Friday of the October meeting. So pretty quiet. Does You Know was really well backed in the opener. The race did fall apart a little bit. But the eventual winner, 300-5, was a decent result for the firm. Oscar Elite, my dark horse for the season, ran with great credit. I thought. I know he was getting £8, but I thought he jumped really well in the main until falling at that tricky fence down the hill 3 out. But I think he was coming there to win the race. So he was fairly short in running, and I thought he looked a bit of a tool actually. So,
what are you backing Oscar Elite for again?
For the Festival Novice Chase.
Yeah,
about 33-1 now for that. So that's just an interesting one to take forward. I think he's probably a good deal better. He knows he's getting £8 down the 2 in front of him. But he's just one to take out of that one. Put the Kettle On was the buzz horse of the day. I know I said we weren't hugely busy, but we were really busy for this race. If Put the Kettle On would have got a job done, we probably would have been paying back to the parade ring. I mean, it was really well back there. Didn't run like it was back though. It got back all the way from 5-2 2-1 and just ran really flat.
There are a couple of races this weekend with really weird sort of well, put the kettle on, maybe not as strange as the Morgiana, but like when you put these mares in against horses rated they're superior, why they should be that short. Echoes and Rain was baffling to me, but in fairness, put the kettle on. She's been there, done that, but she wasn't good enough.
No, she wasn't. It had to be more than that. I know with these mares, you can get off days. I was saw Snowfall towards the back end of the flat season, and we've seen it all the time, to be fair. But it was a really poor performance. And I thought the winner was quite taken, actually. I will get onto a couple of market movers, including Nubanega in just a second. But I thought he was quite taken and could be an interesting one to take forward to the Champion Chase. You could have argued could have won it last year if he got ridden slightly differently. Again, all in hindsight, but. He's probably one to take forward, but Nubanega was a decent result in the race because put the kettle on got beat. West Cork was a loser in both on course books and was a loser in the office as well in the Greatwood. Again, the place is not very kind here. Adagio 11-1, No Ordinary Joe 8-1, Campron 17-2. As they turned home, me and Lofty looked at each other and we said that all four horses that filled the places were all losers. So
lovely.
I actually did all right in the places on course, but Lofty didn't and the office didn't. So a poor result there. And then Time for a Tune in the last race was a terrible result as well. We couldn't stop laying this one. I couldn't lay in the favourite for love nor money. Time for a Tune, 3-1. Taps off a really poor week on the bookmaking front. So a tough week at Cheltenham. We did really enjoy ourselves there and seeing the punters there. It was good to see Brian Gleeson back there. I had a few chats with Brian. It was good to see him back over and good to see some of the Irish boys come over as well. So yeah. We did have a good weekend in Cheltenham, even though we didn't win the money. But just the market movers, just whilst we've been talking about Cheltenham, third time lucky, 8-1 from 12 for the Arkle. Nubanega, 10 from 18s for the Champion Chase. I like to move it, who was pretty impressive, beating Washington. Although it was a free runner heat, he was pretty impressive the way he kicked off the turn. Again, another celebration from Santos and Davis there. He went absolutely mental when he crossed the line. 16 from 25 for the Supreme Novice. Sharjah, 12 from 20 for the Champion Hurdle after winning the Morgiana at Punchestown. And then Blazing Cow, we put in the betting at 22-1 for the Ballymore. So just some market movers for the big meeting in March off the back of the November meeting at the weekend.
Yeah, I think it's quite obvious that these national hunt jockeys actually missed the crowds, and were absolutely reveling in victory again, as was Lewis Hamilton, who's restored something of his chance in terms of the F1. How did this go for the firm?
It was absolutely fine for the firm, to be fair. I think with recent weekends in the Grand Prix, you've seen whatever team has been strong through practice has always been turned around through qualifying and through the race. Whereas this time, Mercedes has just been really strong the whole way. There was controversy all weekend with the rear wing. Verstappen got fined for having a look at the rear wing in parc-fermé conditions. He got fined 50,000. Then they did the qualify for the sprint race where Hamilton qualified on pole for that, but then he got disqualified, so he got moved to the back of the grid because of some regulation issues with the rear wing, which meant he started at the back there. He then managed to finish the sprint race in fifth. He then took a 5-place grid penalty for a new engine, combustion unit, I think it was. So he started from 10th on the grid, and he ended up winning the race. So that just shows some of the daring moves he took, but also how quick the Mercedes car is at the moment. Lewis Hamilton is now 10-11 from 3-1 to win the Drivers' Championship, with 4-5 for Verstappen from 1-4. The next stop is Qatar, I believe, then Saudi Arabia, and then Abu Dhabi. We do have an offer on the Formula One. Get 50% of your staybacks, a free bet if your driver finishes second, beaten less than 5 seconds. And that's in the race winner market up to 100 quid. So a decent offer to get stuck into there on the Formula One. But it's going to be a really exciting end to the season. And do check out the Formula One on site, because Jordan does do some good work in terms of putting all the specials up, the match bets and all that type of gear. So as it does approach race weekend, do have a look at the Formula One. Check out the offer, and it's going to be a fantastic end to the season.
Yeah, the boy Jordan, I must say hello to him. Haven't been in touch with him in a while.
It's his birthday today.
Huh?
It's his birthday today, 27.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There we go. Happy birthday to Jordan. And yeah, it's been a lot of birthdays recently, and it's a great man doing good work on the Formula One. Almost tips on each or two there in terms of that race. So that's fascinating. Actually, just recorded the polling station before I came on with you, Flynn. And there have been some market moves in politics here. Most of them negative all of them negative for the Conservatives, pretty much.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I'll be the first to admit that I'm not over politics. It does interest me when the general elections come around, all that type of stuff. But I just can't keep up to date with it week on week. But what I've been told by our politics experts in terms of the prices, on the back of the most recent damning polls for the Tories, so I think it actually showed Labour ahead in a few, didn't it? For the first time in a long time. General election, most seats, Conservatives at 8 to 15 from 4 to 9, so a drift there. Labour into 13 to 8 from 15 to 8 for most seats. Overall majority, no overall majority is evens from 5 to 4. Conservative majority is 11 to 8 from 21 to 20. And Labour shortened into 9 to 2 from 6 to 1. So some moves there on the politics. But we have to finish in one place, Johnny, and that's strictly come down.
There's only one place to finish.
There's only one place to finish. And JV, head of sports, but also loves his TV and specials. Honestly, his favourite betting event of the year is Eurovision. He lays down the law in terms of all the prices and all the Eurovision stuff, but he does like a bit strictly as well. Rose Ayling-Ellis is 4 on from 4 to 11 after her silent dance of the weekend. So some big movements in Strictly. We've obviously got Sports Personality coming up, so we've checked that out on the specials on the site. And we've got plenty to look forward to this week, actually. The Premier League will be back. England are playing tonight. I'm not sure if this will be out before or after that. And then we've got some decent racing to look forward to at the weekend. We do have a builder bet special on for the Wales-Belgium game, where you place a £10 builder bet and get a £5 free bet. So do check that out on the Wales-Belgium game, where Gareth Bale won't be starting. So that'll be an interesting dynamic there. But we've also just on the topic of racing, when I just said a second ago that we've got some decent racing this weekend. We do have the Betfair Chase on site. Are you surprised that Aplutar's been sent this route, Johnny?
Yeah, probably. It's very, very hard to know with the trainer what he does in terms of horses this time of the season. But do we have betting on it, actually?
We do, yeah. 11 to 8 Aplutar, I thought short enough for first run of the season. Bristol to my 3 to 1. Next Destination 5 to 1. I think with Paul Nicholls. Royal Pagaille 11 to 2. Waiting Patiently 7 to 1. Imperial Aura 9. Native River 14. Clondalk Castle 25. And Chatham Street Lad 33. So how many we got declared there? 9 declared for 5-day decks. So obviously we'll have more coming out or staying in when we hit Thursday.
Maybe his horses need to run a little bit as well. Like Manila Ingo certainly didn't pull up any trees and put the kettle on. The sort of, it was okay. Like, but interesting. That's going to be an interesting betting race. Yeah,
I mean, just going on the form of those two that you just mentioned for Henry from Manila Indo, there was talk about days before about him really needing the runner, and he ran like it. And then Put the Kettle On was really well bet, and she just didn't show up at all at Cheltenham at the weekend. So there maybe could be angles to take him on. The obvious one is Bristol to My, but you're looking about 3 to 1 about a horse that could be getting on a bit. He loves Haydock. He's going to be fit, but then the ground might not be soft enough, which I don't think I've ever said for Haydock in my life. But it's a good to soft at the moment, so it might not be quite his game. But then you're looking at the new improvers, like Next Destination ran a great race against Galvin last year in the National Hunt Chase. Could be a douse there. He's 5 to 1. Royal Pagaille around Haydock last year absolutely trounced them before going on to he ran in the Gold Cup, didn't he? But he just didn't run his race for whatever reason. But he was a massive improver last year. Could love Haydock. And then you've got Waiting Patiently, who's changed stables, isn't he? I can't remember who he's gone to off the top of my head. Has he gone to Christian Williams?
I don't know that actually.
I think Waiting Patiently might have gone to Christian Williams, although off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure. And then you're on to 9 to 1 Imperial Aura, who I think's got it all to prove at that class. So there are ones to take Aplutar on in the Betfair Chase. We have also got up the Betfair Stayers Handicap Hurdle, where Maze Runner is your 11 to 2 favourite, 6 to 1 Albies Legend, and then 7 Bar. And we will have the rest of the anti-post up for the weekend as we go on throughout the week.
And just finally as well, the betting people interview with Anthony Kaminskas, which has turned into a bit of a series, actually. Indeed, the first one, 4,500 views in 2 weeks or so on YouTube. So done really, really well. And do remember to check that out and check out Star Sports website. Flynn, it's been good to chat to you as ever.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was Trader Chat. We'll be back next week, the national season, taking along very, very nicely. And one wonders, will Flynn have 3 bad days again next weekend, or will he be back making money for the firm? Talk to you then.